I'm here. We're hanging out. I'm hanging out with my boy Brandon McConnell in the Wolf and Iron studio, and so which is basically my office, and it's also the Rustic and Main. Yes, it's also the Rustic and Main place.
This is a top-notch digital arena.
That's right. Yeah, this is a multi-million-dollar facility here, funded entirely by your guys just listening for free.
Yeah,
it's the magic of the internet. I don't even know how it works.
It's amazing. It's a miracle.
It's a miracle, is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, let's kick off the
You're
podcast here.
Sorry, go.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Wolf and Iron podcast. You're listening to another episode of Ask a Man. Got my friend Brandon McConnell here, and we're also doing this live on Instagram. So if you guys haven't checked this out yet, head over to Instagram when you can, and just follow me on there. Follow Wolf and Iron on Instagram. Don't follow Brandon. But because he said you don't know what you're doing, so
I just downloaded Instagram like 2 days ago.
He's on the gram now.
Only to watch myself. I'm a raging narcissist.
But head over there, follow Wolf and Iron, and I'll let you guys know before we go live, and we try to showcase these things whenever we answer your guys' questions. Y'all's questions.
Use guys.
So I thought we'd do kind of a fun thing first.
Uh-oh.
And then I thought we would do a more serious question second. So I asked this. This is actually from Instagram. The guys, I put this out there, and I said, sorry, I'm caught up on something here. I asked the guys. I said, what are some questions that you would have for us on the Ask a Man podcast? And one of the questions was, where's a place that you and I would like to travel? That could be together, or it could be, I guess, separately. Or where's a place that you'd want to visit?
You and I together?
Well, it could be, or separate, or it could just be like you and the wife, or the kids.
Kind of like a bucket list destination.
Yeah.
Oh man, I actually had to answer this recently. So, I would when my oldest son graduates high school, we're going to fly to San Francisco. Not going to stay in San Francisco very long, but we're going to fly there, and we're going to go to Yosemite Park, and we're going to hike the John Muir Trail from San Francisco to Mount Whitney. It's like 250 miles and tens of thousands of feet of elevation change. So that's like my bucket list destination in the States. And then out of the States, Fiji.
Really?
I want to go to Fiji, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I feel like the Fijians operate at my speed.
You can settle in there, huh?
Back.
Okay, I could dig that.
What about you?
I wouldn't have nailed you for a Fiji guy, actually.
No?
But I can see that. No.
Wow, where would you put me? Like if you had to guess for me?
Well, the Muir Trail made a lot of sense to me. I was resonating with that. When you said Fiji, I wouldn't have thought. But, island.
I'm all about that
maybe.
blue water, baby.
Yeah, no, I can see it. Would that be with me, or would that be just with the wife, or?
I would probably take you on the JMT hike, and then I would take my wife to Fiji.
Okay, that's a good
It's very romantic. I don't think we would feel not awkward in Fiji. Like, hey, me and Mike are going to Fiji for 2 weeks.
Brandon, did you bring your Speedo?
Yeah, well, always. Duh.
Is it Tuesday?
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, so the joke didn't make any sense, the Tuesday thing. It's
because it's Monday.
I know, it doesn't make any sense. I forgot what day it was. Anyhow, so where would I like to go? So we've been actually we talked about this a little bit on the truck ride over here, going to Iceland.
Iceland,
But there's a particular reason I like to go there. So the movie, Walter Mitty was
what's
the Secret Life?
Walter Mitty?
The Secret
Life of Walter Mitty.
Secret Life of Walter Mitty, right?
That's a good movie.
It was a really good
that movie.
And he goes on this kind of trip to Iceland to go and kind of retrace some of the things that he wanted to do with his dad and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And but anyhow, that movie just really
it was all about a girl, though, wasn't it? He wasn't going there for his dad.
Well, there was something about like he had to kind of resolve. Oh no, he was going there for
chasing Sean
photographer.
Penn.
Yeah, the photographer, which is not a girl, but he liked this lady, and she showed up in like a dream sequence type of thing. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Anyhow, but he had this whole thing like him and his dad were supposed to go backpacking and do these different things, adventure basically with his dad at some point, but his dad died. I can't remember why. But anyhow, it was a good touching movie. And they made a good use of the Rocket Man song.
Yeah, they did. Yes.
But anyhow, I want to go to Iceland, go check that out, and just kind of be in that world for a little bit.
Very geothermal.
Yeah.
Like you got the hot springs, and I just told you about the guy I know that's got footage of himself in Iceland in the water, not in a hot spring in December, which is pretty crazy.
That's crazy. So maybe do something like that. But that'd be something where I'd take the boys for sure. Summer would probably like to go as well. And then Italy would be another place.
Italy.
I found out that I'm
in Italy right now.
I'm actually like 1/8 Italian.
I don't see it.
I know, but that's where all the love making and stuff comes from.
Oh,
So
I don't see that either, and I don't want to.
So Italy, kind of trace back to my roots. Obviously England and other places as well, but
I can see English.
yeah, plenty of English over here. Yeah, but yeah.
What is your heritage? Like, what are you?
I am Irish, English. I'm just kind of a mutt, basically, just a mix of things now.
So you've got a lot of internal conflict.
There is a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but it's also kind of like it's just sort of a toss up. Like, whose side am I on today?
Yeah.
Like I'm an Irish guy today, or I'm a whatever English guy.
I'm Scottish, so I just hate you all around.
But yeah, it's actually my ancestors apparently most likely were Vikings that landed in the England area, whatever that would have been at the time, and pillaged and did all their stuff, and then we somehow come from that. But we've been Englishified since then, so it's not like I got cool Viking stature or anything like that. The Norwegian or whatever that would have been a part of my bloodline is just...
You're a cultured Viking.
Yeah, basically domesticated.
You're a more refined Viking.
Domesticated Viking. That's
like you can go full Viking in an emergency situation.
It could happen.
For here in the office, you'll go through the door instead of battle axing your way through the wall.
That's true. Which is a bit disappointing, but useful.
Not if you got to fix the wall.
That's true. Yeah, there are positives, I guess, to it. All right, so that's our first question. That was an easy one.
That was a layup.
It was. And the second one, though, is a little bit harder. It's how do you overcome your demons, or what's the secret? What's the trick to overcoming your demons? And here's how I thought we'd kind of approach this. I thought we'd kind of talk about what some of the typical demons are that guys face.
Yeah.
And what are some kind of practical ways to kind of to hit that?
Yeah.
I can say to hit that. It sounds like sex things again.
Does sound a little sexual. But I know what you meant.
To address that particular thing. And then I also thought if we have time, we'd go into a little bit of the spiritual part and talk about maybe there are some actual demons that we need to deal with on occasion. And I don't know if you and I even would line up on that, but it'd be interesting to see where we would both come from or come to it as far as how we would address that kind of thing. Do we believe in that particular aspect? So
I like the fact that we're just spitballing and we have no idea where this is going to go. Let's get started.
Yep. Okay. So I've been talking last. So you what are some challenges that some demons we need to overcome?
Demons, like actual, legit, real demonic possession.
Well, hang on. It could be, yes. We could. I was saving that
just
for
like
last.
the crap that you're dealing with.
I was thinking we'd start with just the crap that we're dealing with first, and because you see the demon stuff, everybody wants to hear that, so they're going to listen all the way to the end of the podcast.
True that.
For that last part,
yes,
to see how we actually do exorcisms and stuff.
Okay,
like that.
because I've actually got a really good
a story.
I've seen some. I'm not trying to I've seen some stuff, but
this is such a good setup.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be an ultimate cliffhanger. I'm not going to say another word about it. Listen up.
All right.
Listen. Give me an example of a demon that men are dealing with, and then I'll tell you how I'll address it.
Okay. All right. I was kind of hoping you'd take that part, but I'll do it. Let's see. Pornography. That's the easy one.
Pornography. This is actually a strong, temptation of mine.
Okay.
There are apps and things like that you can put on your devices to combat that, but that's kind of dealing with the symptom instead of the root cause.
Yeah.
And it's a hard issue. I mean, it's, I don't spiritualize everything, but there is definitely a spiritual tug at my flesh to view pornography often. And if I'm not in the Word, reading Scripture, praying for mercy and help and guidance, I can't fight that battle alone. It is not something I can do in my own power. And when I try to do it in my own power, I fail.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is probably my biggest, baddest demon in my life is pornography. I don't have a lot of other issues, but that's definitely something that I battle every day. Yeah. I mean, I used to be an atheist, so anytime people would try to say, well, I can't do it without Jesus and, stuff like that, I would always kind of mock that and just think it was a joke. No, I wouldn't kind of mock it. I'd mock the hell out of it.
Yeah.
And think it was a joke and not take it seriously. But that, in this journey, in the place I'm at now, that's the only answer I got.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Prayer and Scripture.
Yep. Well, and I think you're kind of pointing out something that's really key there, and that's how do you fight your demons? Well, you actually have to fight, and that means you got to put on. I don't want to sound like a freaking Sunday school class. You got to put on
Billy Graham,
the full armor of God, type of thing. But you do. You've got to armor up, and you got to do the things that are maybe typically out of the norm for you, and that are uncomfortable, and that might be, and that should be, scripture and things like that. Praying, getting your mind right around it. I think also there's another aspect of it, and any of these, I think you got to put on a fight, and that would be, I guess, the biggest question I would have is, are you actually fighting? Like, for a lot of guys they have demons that they want to overcome. What does your fight look like? You know? I actually did a podcast episode. If you guys are interested, you can go back, and I think it's just called Fight, and I talk about my dad's death, and I talk about how he didn't overcome his demon of alcoholism. Yeah, and at the same time, I didn't really see a strong fight. Mm-hmm. What I would consider a fight. I mean, if you knew that you're going to die at the age of 65, shriveled up and just worn out and all the other things that go along with alcoholism, the regret and the anxiety and the shame and everything else, what would you do, now in your 30s or 40s or wherever you might be to make sure that didn't happen? And what would that fight look like? And to me, it would look like I'd move across the country. I would quit everything I was doing. I would, change everything I had to change about my life until I started seeing results. Yeah. And I think that's a big. So any time you're talking about fighting a demon of whatever case it might be, you've got to put up a decent battle. But I would also say one of the things that we do wrong with porn is that we just focus on saying it's bad and it's wrong. Mm-hmm. And I think we talked about this, I think, in a previous Ask a Man podcast, so I'm not going to go deep into it. But there's a certain allure that comes when you say you shouldn't do that, whether it's cigarettes or smoking or whatever, and you're like, oh, really?
Go tell a 3-year-old, don't touch that and walk out of the room.
That's exactly what happened.
First freaking thing they do is touch that.
Yeah, even if they didn't know that was the thing before,
it's
right?
human nature, man.
Yeah, and so I think that there's an aspect of it where you've got to get your mind around seeing your demon for what it is, not a thing you shouldn't do necessarily. I mean, that's obviously there's certain things you should not do. But if let's say it's drinking or smoking or eating too much cake or whatever the case is.
A little close to home, bro.
Okay, all right. Whatever it happens to be, you got to look at it as, is this thing something that I ought to do for my own sake, right? What's the damage that I'm doing to me when I do this thing? Not necessarily it's bad, it's taboo, because there's a lure there. But I think also getting your mind right and saying, like, the soft drinks, they actually shouldn't be labeled drinks because you really shouldn't drink them. Yeah. The cigarettes, this is a terrible idea. Don't smoke those things. They're not a good habit to form.
I think in American culture, even in secular American culture, when somebody is doing something wrong, air quotes wrong, we tend to start with condemnation and making that person feel bad. Illicit drugs, to a lesser degree, pornography, and fast food, and we tend to try to make the person feel bad, and I don't know that that's necessarily effective. Yeah. Romans 8:1 says, "There is therefore now no condemnation for those that are in Christ Jesus." And if you really take ownership of that and get over the feeling bad about doing it and actually start to seek help from your mate or from your bros or from whoever in your world that is ready, willing, and able to help you, I don't know, there's a lot of power in saying, hey, you know what, I'm struggling with this and I need your help. Sure. Like when I went on the road up to Ohio for 3 months, I actually approached a friend of mine and said, hey, this is a struggle of mine. I'm going to be all by myself day in and day out, away from my wife, away from my kids, and I need you to check on me. He didn't laugh at me. He didn't judge me. Now, you don't want to go ask Joe Blow off the street a question like that, but find somebody that will be in the battle with you, that will be iron sharpening your iron and help you to fight that battle. And like you already said, it's a willingness to fight. You have to have a willingness to fight. And all of these vices that we've talked about, the crap food, the pornography, the alcoholism, you don't ever look at the effects when you're in the heat of the moment. It's just, oh, this just one time, or this little thing, or this little Hot Pocket, or this little tequila, or this
Hot
little
Pocket? You just called out Hot Pockets?
The hot Pockets are like the lowest form of food there is, I think. But anyhow, you really have to have a perspective of what you are doing to yourself. And it's very hard to have that perspective because a Dairy Queen Blizzard tastes good.
Yeah.
Watching pornography feels good. Masturbating feels good. It's a release. So yeah, just having a proper perspective.
Yeah, I think that's key. Absolutely right. And I think that kind of goes back to how do you frame the demon as something that you have control over or a choice to make. So kind of putting the power back into your court a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think Christians even do this whole thing of, like you were talking about before, where we say, well, it's all Jesus. It's just got to have Jesus. And they don't realize, oh, actually, yeah, but you've got to make a choice, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you fail and you click on the links and you start pulling up porn again, it's not Jesus stepped out of the room and didn't, have your back. No, you actually failed to make a choice. And
I've actually had conversations with people that they've got a financial problem or something like that. Well, I'm praying for the money. Well,
are you working for the money?
I can sit here and pray all freaking day for $1 million.
Yeah.
It ain't going to fall out of the sky and land on my head.
Yeah.
Like, I think so there's people who have too much emphasis on the spiritual side, and there are people who have too much emphasis on their own power and their own ability to do things. And I think if I was going to put myself into one of those categories, I definitely put myself in the category of the guy that has too much emphasis on what I can accomplish on my own.
Yeah.
You have to have both. Both are key. And it's not like a 50-50, it's 100-100.
Yeah.
I heard a saying one time, and I'm going to screw it up, but it's a good message, so I'm going to say it anyhow. Work like, what was it? Pray like, is basically telling you to pray like that was the only thing that was going to work, and to work like that was the only thing that was going to work. Do both.
Oh, yeah, right.
When you're trying to solve a problem or create something or build something, work your butt off and pray your butt off.
Yeah.
So, and I'll tell you what, man, growing up, like, I had a terrible example growing up. Like, my dad was into that life. And I remember coming down the stair, like our TV sat against the stairway, and you basically walked down the stairs right behind the TV. Yeah. And my dad was like half deaf, so he thought everybody else was deaf. He was sitting there watching, like, I don't know if it was like hardcore or like just the nudie stuff on Cinemax when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But like he would literally flip the channel as soon as I hit the bottom step, and then I'd walk out of the room and he'd flip it back. I'm like, who do you think you're fooling, old man? Like, it was just so, but yeah, so I didn't have that lighthouse in my life that I need. I mean, like I said, I grew up an atheist, and well, I probably grew up agnostic, and then when he died, I got pissed off at God and turned full bore atheist.
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, that actually that touches on a big piece of this, and that is, where do your demons come from? Like, how did they get entrance to your world in the first place, right? And, does that, I mean, any guy out there doesn't have to have some traumatic childhood experience or have parents who watch porn in front of them or whatever to be attracted to naked ladies on the internet. That's, right.
That's pretty much universal.
That's pretty much a universal thing.
Unless you're attracted to naked dudes on the internet.
Yeah, that's another topic maybe for another time. But at the same time, you do need to kind of figure out where some of those roots are. And I think that is helpful to kind of, because here's the thing, a lot of times we go back to our demons or we let them in or we say okay to those things because we're trying to deal with something that's not quite resolved. The beer at the end of the day is a way that we mark our a celebratory thing. It's also a way that we say the day is done, or it's the way that we say that we had a crappy day at work or whatever the case is. And eventually you realize, oh wait, the beer is like my way of signaling closure or completing something, right? And one beer, not too bad. 2 or 3 beers, start to have an issue maybe, but fill in the blank, whatever it is, cigarettes. I've known a number of guys and gals that have quit smoking for a period of time, and then something happens in their life and they're back at it because that's the thing that they can count on. And so you got to say, okay, why do I believe that this is? I know it's bad for me. I've already convinced myself of that. Why do I go back to it when life gets hard?
Well, ultimately, any of these vices, if that's what you want to call it, the porn, the alcohol, the tobacco, whatever, it's an escape from reality.
Yeah.
Reality sucks right now, so I'm going to escape for a little bit. And, pornography is obviously not reality.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol obviously distorts reality.
Yep.
I don't really know what tobacco does. That might be a bad example, but like you got to deal with reality, man. And I don't know, if you're constantly getting signals to go pursue these other things, you take a long, hard look at your reality. Now, have I ever seen you drink an alcoholic beverage?
No, you have not.
Okay.
I don't think. I think
I do drink.
I may have tried one in your presence
Okay,
a long time ago, but
I didn't
no.
think I ever saw you drink. I just wanted to make sure.
Right.
Do you think, and I'm just asking out of curiosity
Yeah.
at this point, do you think consuming one or two drinks is sinful or evil, or
No.
so it's just a personal choice you made based on what happened with your father, I assume?
Yeah, growing up with an alcoholic dad,
Yeah.
having no taste for it anyhow, so it's not something that I wanted to acquire. I didn't
I
trust.
worked really hard to acquire this taste.
I didn't trust myself around it, and it was one of those things where I thought, I don't know what good can come from this,
Yeah.
and so I just stayed away from it. And now that I'm a celiac, or not celiac, but I stay away from gluten for the most part. It's not even in the cards for me. So, and that, it doesn't bother me. Sometimes I do feel like it's that social thing. Guys will say, hey, I'm coming into town. I listen to the podcast. Why don't we grab a drink? And I'm like, well, we could grab some coffee or some kombucha. And now I sound like a freaking hipster, but so, I mean,
Drink what you want, but you know what? Who cares what they think?
no, I know. I'm just joking around.
Drink
But
what you want to drink.
there's also that aspect of, well, it's like a sports team. Like guys start talking about
No, I
this
get
new
it.
craft brewed beer and what the,
Yeah.
what it's like, and this is a stout, and this is a
Yeah.
whatever, and they, like I want to know those things. Like I want to experience.
If you can I give a shout out?
Yeah.
If you ever want to try the best beer in the history of beer, get yourself a Catawba Brewing Company White Zombie.
Okay.
Hands down, best beer I've ever tried.
All right. This episode of the Ask a Man Pie.
We get like free
I know we get
promos.
some free beer.
But you can only get it around here. So if you're
Yeah.
not in like western half of North Carolina, you're probably not going to find it. But
Sorry, guys.
man, it's a good beer.
Yeah. And see, I have no concept of that. Like I don't know like what a good beer is because I never had one.
I was
only
out
had
to dinner with my lady Saturday,
yeah.
and I ordered a Corona, and I was drinking my Corona, and like I saw on the specials page that they had White Zombie,
And you're like,
and I was like,
forget it.
no, I'm going to finish it.
Oh, you're gonna
Now
finish
give
it.
me a White
Okay. You're gonna get
Zombie,
White
too.
Zombie. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, you got to know yourself. Like it's like, where's that line at, right? Like, obviously 2 beers is going to alter me a little bit. And is it unbiblical, sinful, wrong to be altered at all? But you can do the same thing with deep breathing exercises and exercise in general. So
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's kind of all about where your heart's at. Like if it's something that you need to get through the day, there's a problem.
Yeah.
If it's, I don't know.
So
Jury's
here's
still
what,
out on this.
well, my thought is, if we're identifying a demon kind of in our life, I'm thinking it's, as the guy asked this question, it's something that you don't want in your life, and it just keeps coming back.
Yes.
It keeps showing its ugly head, and you want to
Yes.
get rid of it, right? And so, and that actually might be something like anger. That could be a good one too, right?
Yeah.
Where you are, you're doing your best to love your wife and your kids and to get along with everybody, and then something happens, they don't load the dishes the right way, or something small, and it, right? And then in the moment, you're getting mad, you're flipping out, and you can almost kind of see yourself from the outside saying things that you wish you weren't saying and doing the
Yeah.
things that you wish you weren't doing. And yet here you are blowing up at your wife and your kids again over something that's really small, no big deal. And you just kind of walk away from that feeling both pissed and ashamed. And you're like, I've done it again.
Yeah.
Why do I keep coming back and doing the same thing over and over again?
Yeah.
That's the kind of demons that I'm thinking about too.
Yeah, I've definitely got like extremely intense, I call them microbursts of anger, because it's like a firework. Like it goes
Yeah.
off and then it's over, but it's like destructive in the moment, like destructive for my relationships, destructive for my possessions oftentimes. Like I'm a smasher. I like to smash stuff.
You smash things.
I don't know why, but yeah. I'm a very calculated smasher. I remember when I was a kid, I was looking for something to smash, and I picked up the Sega Genesis, and I had it over my head. I was like, no, wait, I got to find something else to smash.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
So I literally took the time to think it through to go find something else to smash. So I calculate my smashing.
Yeah.
Mostly around $1 value, but yeah.
Stupid child's toy. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was still a stupid child, so I still like the Sega Genesis.
Okay.
Might be dating myself a little bit here.
Yeah. I remember that.
Remember when I saw that controller with those 3 buttons, and I thought that was as good as ever going to get, baby.
Yep. They had the CD, right? The Sega
Sonic
Genesis?
the Hedgehog.
Or was that the next one?
I don't know. I think that still had the old cartridges, kind of like Nintendo style, I think. I'm sure somebody.
Yeah, you guys correct us on this. Let us know.
I'm sure somebody is listening that will know that. The PlayStation was the first one that had the CD.
Okay,
I think
that's right. Because Sony
after
actually
Sega
invented
Genesis.
I think the whole CD thing.
Yeah.
So good on them. That was cool.
After like PlayStation 19 or something.
Yeah.
God, we're old.
We're freaking old. This sucks. Anyhow, so I think just identifying what it is, where the roots are, being realistic. Just trying to recap this a little bit. Situate yourself in reality, and then you got to fight. Like Brandon and I have said, you got to actually put up a real legitimate fight.
And that's the hardest part, making the decision.
Yeah,
make the decision to fight. Like it's the most obvious, but it's the first step, and it's the one everybody skips.
Yep. And then accountability is absolutely key. I mean, we kind of glossed over that. You mentioned a little bit, but I think accountability. I mean, just knowing that you're going to have to look a friend in the eye and give an honest answer once a week or once a month on, did you look at porn? Why did you do it? And kind of going through that routine, or, did you stay away from the soft drinks, or did you, have them? And whatever it is that you decide is your demon, did you burst out in anger? Did you hold it together? That goes a long way, because the accountability with other men, that's a serious motivator. So, and I don't know if that will necessarily make you overcome your demons, but it will help you to get into the frame of mind where you can start putting in self-control in those moments where you'd otherwise probably give in, and you think, nope, I got to go talk to Brandon about this, and that's going to suck, and I don't want him to, be ashamed of me or look down on me or whatever the case is.
Yeah, I don't think there's a silver bullet, like the scripture, the prayer, the accountability, the decision. It's a combination that builds your resistance.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's go to the next piece here, the last piece. So let's talk about real demons.
Actual demons, huh?
I want to hear your story. You got me all pumped up now. I don't know what the story is, so I want to hear.
So, yeah, for those that don't know, I used to be a police officer, and I've seen, I don't know if you want to label it as demons, or have you ever heard of like the bath salts and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Like
people go crazy. They eat.
Like the dude down in Florida that ate somebody's face and stuff like that. So we had a huge bath salts problem in Gastonia when I was a cop there. And that's a town in North Carolina for those of you that are not in the local area. Had a big problem with, it's basically synthetic cocaine, and it fries people's brains, man. But I can remember 2 different instances where you're looking at somebody and they're just not there. Like, it is just not a human that you're looking at that is staring you in the eyes. And I did, and I'm going to talk about one of the instances because it's infinitely more interesting than the other one. It was an involuntary commitment, which basically, instead of getting arrested and going to jail, you get arrested and go to the hospital for a psychiatric/chemical evaluation. Yeah. So it was an involuntary commitment. I picked him up in the parking lot of the magistrate's office where his mom had just taken out these papers on him. And he was in the front seat of the car, and I got there, and she unlocked the door, and I unlocked the car, or opened the car door, and he did not fight me going into handcuffs. So I got him in handcuffs. I said, hey, man, I'm taking you to the hospital. You're not under arrest, blah, blah, but I have to put handcuffs on you if you're going in the back of my car. Just our policy. It had to happen. Yep. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So I could tell he had just taken something and was on his way up, for lack of a better word. Sure. So I put him in the back of the car, but he was super cool, and it was hot as crap this day. It was like July or August. So there's a window, like the plexiglass window between the front and the back seat of the police car, separating us. And I was like, man, it's hot. I'm going to leave the window open so some of the air conditioning can get back there to him. And I did that. And as I'm going down the road to the hospital, he all of a sudden just switches and sticks his head out through the window, like right next to my ear, like right here.
Like a freaking zombie movie, yeah.
Yeah. And he's turning and he's trying to bite the side of my, like he's literally trying to eat my face.
Jeez.
And like, and I'm driving at this point.
Yeah.
So I've got one hand on the wheel, and I literally had to carefully, without wrecking, grab him by the neck. And like, I was literally cutting off oxygen and blood flow to this guy's brain.
Yeah.
And like, he was just crazy trying to come through that window. Well, it's too big. Your shoulders won't fit.
Yeah.
And like, just trying to come through there. And finally, I was able to get stopped and jam him back through there and slam that window shut. But like, this guy was legit trying to eat my face. And he was saying, what was he saying? He kept saying 666 and devil man, 666 devil man, 666 devil man, with like these snarly gnashed teeth and like spit flying out of his mouth. Like, so if that's not a demon, I don't know what the heck else to call it.
Yeah.
But, you know, got him to the hospital. And I mean, somebody that's on a drug like that, they just fight so much longer, so much harder, and more aggressively than a sober person. It's insane. But got him there. I left him in the back of the car and went. He busted the window out of my car when I was going in there to get, you know, some help and a gurney and all that stuff. And got him out of there. One guy got kicked in the face while we were taking him out of the back of the car. Got him strapped down to the gurney and took him in there. And I didn't get to leave the hospital until he was sedated and unconscious. But man, it was crazy. And there have been several instances like that. But that's probably the most dramatic one.
Jeez.
Like he was legit. I had another one where a guy was cut real bad on his leg, and he was literally like jamming his fingers in this cut and like ripping his own flesh off his leg. Like he took a little wound and it was like deep, so he was going in like to the bone and like tearing his own flesh off. It was weird.
Golly.
But you know, you can say it's chemical, but I always noticed that there seemed to be a spiritual theme anytime somebody was on those crazy, like hardcore drugs, when somebody was having their flip out, like the guy saying 666 devil man. And then I arrested a guy. Oh God, this guy, I've probably arrested him 6 times, and he carried a cross all over town. Like he was a big, tall dude with long hair and a beard.
Yeah.
And he carried a cross everywhere he went, like Jesus.
Yeah.
And this guy, he could quote scripture better than any pastor I've ever met. Like he knew the Bible front to back, cover to cover. But I've arrested him for beating his wife. I've arrested him for robbing people. I've arrested him for... He fought the police every time we dealt with him. And for some reason... He always wanted to talk to me, like he liked me. And
yeah,
I won't say his name, but every police officer working in the town I worked in knows him. But he, for whatever reason, he always wanted to talk to me. And like I would ask him, I was like, man, what is going on? Because you're a really nice guy sometimes, and you are just a miserable SOB other times. And he says it's demons, man. And like, he straight up said it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just weird.
Yeah,
I was always looking for the spiritual side of things anyhow, just trying to be in tune with that.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I'm just glad I didn't get bit.
Yeah, I know, because you would have been, what would have happened? You would have started the zombie apocalypse or
I was a
something.
vampire or something.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Well, vampire wouldn't be so bad, but, getting turned.
I don't think any of it's any good.
Well, that's true. That's really good point. And I think that kind of opens up a whole nother thing of, let's assume for a moment that there's a spiritual side, because you and I both believe that, right?
Yeah.
So it's not an assumption for us; it's a reality. But for the guys who are listening that may not be on the same page here, let's assume that there's a spiritual side.
And for the guys that don't believe it, I get it.
Yeah,
I believed it for a long time.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts. I understand. My response to that is that it has to be crazy to be true, because if it wasn't crazy, it would just be normal everyday stuff.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be supernatural.
Water,
it would
yeah.
just
Natural, not supernatural.
That's right. But at the same time, I think there is some truth to having events in your life, or it could be drugs, whatever the case is. Something opens a doorway. I think sometimes. I think a lot of times it's stress, it's unbelief, basically anything that's anti-God, even in the smallest kind of ways. I think opens up a doorway there for spiritual forces to kind of come in and prey on the weak, sort of thing. And I think a lot of times maybe that's what's going on in the drug kind of situation. I don't know.
Yeah.
Summer and I have both experienced demons or a demon at the same time. I'll tell you guys about that. So this was years and years ago. So Liam wasn't born yet, so he's 16 now. So 16 years ago.
Been a while.
Been a while. Summer and I are sitting in bed. We're about to go through a divorce.
Was she pregnant at the time?
Yeah, she was pregnant.
Your son might be the demon, dude.
He could be the demon. He came out. Yeah. No, he's too good of a kid. Unless he's just putting it on.
I'm playing that joke.
These are the spawn. She was pregnant, and we had been talking about getting a divorce and just going through the hardest times and a number of issues. And I think at that time, she was trying to realizing that she was having some health issues and different things were going on. So we just had a lot of stress, typical finance stress and all kinds of stuff.
God, you guys have come a long way. I'm just thinking back. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hijack.
No, you're good. Yeah, we've had.
I'm really proud of you.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, we almost did make it a couple times. Anyhow, we're laying in bed. We're both asleep, and she sits up and says, "Oh my gosh, do you see that?" And I sat up for a second too. And at the end of our bed, I saw something that to me it's kind of hard to describe what it looked like. And I'm not one, she wakes up in the middle of the night for all kinds of stuff. Anyhow, this is not new to me. This wasn't like a surprise thing or whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm very rational when I wake up at night. But anyhow, I wake up and I see something at the end of the bed, and it's a skeleton like something. It's kind of what it kind of comes to me as. I don't know how else to describe it. It's not like it's there necessarily, but it is kind of there.
Did it take human form?
Yeah, it was like it was like a skeleton type of sort of thing, right? And I said, do you mean the skeleton that's at the end of our bed? And she said, yeah, do you see it too? I said, I see it. And then I just kind of like in my mind, it was almost like, I know you. That's how I thought about it. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is freaking me out, like a scary movie, like where everybody runs out of the house, or I get the shotgun or the salts or whatever I was supposed to do, get rid of demons. It was nothing like that. It was like, I know you. Like you didn't surprise me at all. It was like, oh yeah. As if I had seen it before, not like in a dream, but just I was aware, you know.
It might have been one of your ancestors or something like that too.
It could have been. It would have been nice if they had put on a coat or something, you know, and that freaked me out.
Yeah.
But in any case, I said, oh yeah, it's a demon, you know, and my mind said a prayer against it, but I didn't have a fear of it, like, oh my gosh, there's a demon in our house, it's freaking me out. But I think it was because I think there's always been a sort of a recognition of myself that being saved by Christ, that there's sort of a guard and kind of a protection there, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it can't taunt me or bother me. And
I
think
hurt you.
Yeah, and my wife is particularly sensitive to those things, and I've noticed that over the years. Yeah. And so we experienced that. I've talked to other people who have had similar experiences in some form or fashion of the supernatural. And but one of the kind of fast forwarding a little bit, many years later, we both went to. We did have a lot of health issues, and family had a lot of health issues. We ended up going down to Georgia to this kind of ministry thing. It's called Be in Health. If you guys have heard of it, I can't stand by everything they teach there, but it was beneficial nonetheless. One of the things that we talked about, though, there was just the demonic presence, that basically is in our lives on a constant basis, and the Bible speaks of, but we don't really talk about it much at church.
Yeah.
And just in some ways, basically how we do battle against those things, and just recognize when they're trying to kind of get us to steer us in one direction that we don't want to go, and keep us on a track or on a train of thought that's very unfaithful, And anyhow, we put some of those things into practice, and major healing over our family. I mean, big time changes.
That's awesome. How long ago was this?
So this was 5 years ago. We actually went back just this year.
I was going to say, I thought you mentioned this recently.
But we went 5 years ago, and just as a kind of a example of what the healing kind of looked like for us. Boys couldn't eat eggs. They were at sort of anaphylactic area of sensitivity with eggs. We had a test done before we went down, basically on all their different allergies. They had allergies to the corn and soy and wheat and
I remember there was like
and
3 things they could eat.
It was just getting ridiculous. And it's like every time they tried something new, they had a reaction to it.
Yeah.
And eggs were really bad. Like the eggs were really high on the list. Well, we come back from the thing, and Summer and I are just feeling like big time pumped up. Just visible changes in her. Yeah. And some changes in me as well. And my boy said, I want to eat eggs. Can we eat eggs now, Dad? And they didn't go. But I said, I had to think about it. Let me just think about it. So I went out. I had to run an errand. Went out to do the thing. And while I was going there, I was like, isn't there like a Bible verse or something that talks about, if a father believed that his son was hungry, what dad would basically give their kid a stone who asked for bread type of thing, right? And I was like, do I believe eggs are good? Yeah, I believe eggs are good. Well, why wouldn't I give it to my kids if I believe it's good type of thing, right? So this is sort of the conversation I'm having with God. Well, I get back and I'm looking up the verse because I want to read this to the kids, and I'm going to say, yeah, we're going to have eggs. And then there's a parallel in Luke, and I wish I had it for you guys. I don't have it, but you guys can look it up. And it says basically, which of you, if your kids ask for an egg, would give them a serpent? And I'd never heard that before. I'd never read that before.
Wow.
And I'd known about the stone and the bread, that example that I gave first.
Yeah, I've never heard the egg one either.
And I almost broke down right there because I just found it, when I was getting ready to read it to him. And anyhow, we freaking loaded up on eggs. They had omelets for days. It was crazy, and it was awesome.
And no reaction.
Yeah, no reaction. No. They still scarf down eggs like mad. So
that's awesome.
And a lot of the other issues have been cleared up too. And so we know that fear and plays a big part into just all kinds of issues in life.
Yeah.
And I think there are demonic forces that are constantly at us to try and get us on the fear side and constantly be, checking ourselves against, what our own paranoia says about the future and whatnot versus what God says. And the way we battle it is we just say, in the name of Jesus Christ, be gone.
I rebuke you.
And we don't deal with that. We ain't got time for that.
I worked with a guy that was very one night we were off and he wanted to go to this haunted house and this old graveyard and go looking for this stuff. And he was kind of scared of it.
Yeah.
And he used to get so mad at me because I would taunt the demons.
When was this? This is while you're on the force?
When I was a police officer,
okay.
Yeah. So we used to go through the old hospital in Gastonia and go down to where the body cooler, the mortuary and all that stuff was. And it's all apartments now, which is kind of weird. But we would go in there and he would say something about being scared. And I was like, man, all these demons are Jesus' bitch. Jesus got my back. I ain't scared of no demons. And just, kind of tongue in cheek, but honestly,
yeah,
that's kind of a really good way to look at it.
Yeah.
You have nothing to fear.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, he got so mad though, because I was talking smack to the demons.
You're taunting them is what it is.
You're I was.
Up. Yeah, you get them angry.
All right, come on. I want to see you. Show me your real.
I want to do an episode where we have somebody on the podcast maybe to talk about, because this comes up a lot of times in Christian circles, is our ghost real? Is that a possibility, right?
What's the difference between a ghost and a demon?
Well, so the demon, there's a couple of different ideas about what demons are. Demons are either fallen angels, right? So that would be the kind of what we probably were raised with. Angels that fell with Satan. Some of them got put into prison. Some of them basically just got disembodied and they're kind of wandering the earth, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Or they're sort of in that sort of middle place between hell and earth, and judgment hasn't come on them yet, sort of thing. The other thing would be that demons are just some sort of another entity of some kind that came about in some kind of way that we're not really sure of, through some kind of biblical thing that, well, it wouldn't be biblical because it's something we haven't heard of. We don't know, type of thing. A ghost would be basically, when we die, our spirit kind of gets trapped or stuck here or whatever the case is, and is just still wandering around. But there's a lot of ideas about what ghosts are as well, in terms of that we actually leave an impression on the world and in different ways. And so we're not really a ghost. We're more of like a mirage kind of deal. So there's all kinds, but that's why it'd be great to bring somebody in to talk about those things, because I've experienced some things. My mom's experienced some things. So many people I've talked to that have experienced stuff that's, where they actually saw stuff and they don't know how to explain it, And,
yeah.
I'd like to, how do we tackle that? Even from what do atheists think about those kinds of things? Is it just people just being crazy, or is there a scientific, explanation to it some kind of way?
Yeah, I know when I was an atheist, I was extremely cynical towards, I'd been sitting in that chair right there making fun of us for talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
Because, you're so stupid, whatever. But I don't think all atheists are the same. But, yeah, I'm definitely not the man for that conversation. You might have to have, I'd like to join you and some third-party expert, but...
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I'd need somebody in here as well that could talk to it. So
yeah,
we'll put that on the docket.
So battling the real demons, I think, if you are a believer,
Yeah.
you rebuke them in the name of Christ.
Mm.
If you're not a believer, you go full bore Kevin McAllister in Home Alone, get the micro machines, the Christmas ornaments, the torch, everything out, and that's what you got to work with.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you don't believe it, how are you going to battle it, right? I mean, to battle it as an atheist, you got to say there's something else going on here.
What did that evolve from?
Yeah, where'd that come from? Or you're just looking inward for the solution. You just gotta you need to get on some different meds or something. All right, well, I think that's good, man. Good conversation.
This started off fun and then it got serious.
I told you I was going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually like that. I thought that was kind of a good transition. That would be like a good story, actually, would take that kind of arc like that.
Yeah. I want to talk about something fun again. What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Same Z's. Drop the
We're both wearing, what is it? You got a black shirt on? Blue shirt? That's black?
I'm going black on black today.
Yeah. That's
My
cool.
finest, bumming around the house, a tire before I hit the road tonight.
That's nice. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in once again to an Ask a Man podcast. Look, if you guys have questions for us,
Run, Forrest.
head over to wolfandiron.com/askaman. Also, be sure to follow us on Instagram. That's Wolf and Iron, at Wolf and Iron on Instagram. We'll try to go live as often as we can when we record these things. The release comes much later, so you guys who are listening to this, you already missed the boat. Sorry. But you can still follow us and check out and tune in when we record something new. So that's it, fellas. Talk to you later.